Hey everybody, Thunder here, Campfire Council, Thunder Speaks. That's kind of like a subheading because I represent the Campfire Council and I'm Thunder Hands, and so Thunder Speaks. Get the drift? So anyway, I wanted to talk about a couple of things that came up on the weekend. It's really funny. There might be some really important stuff that might be happening on a global level. I don't care what it is. And if it's really important to mankind, or if it has anything to do with how we live, or how it might affect the situation that we find ourselves in, you have a real hard time finding news, or even, I don't even want to call it news because I really don't like the news, just information, truthful information. So this last weekend we had the Bundy incident, or the standoff at the Bundy Ranch in Nevada. And in case you don't know about that, the Bureau of Land Management went into this guy's ranch and took a bunch of his cows and killed a bunch and tasered his son and did the usual Gestapo type stuff with their strapped on guns and armor and all this stuff. And it was totally uncalled for. It was totally illegal if you really delve into the depths of it. And guess what happened? People got upset in America. Wow, that kind of made me happy. In other words, there were all of a sudden it spread like wildfire that some rancher was getting attacked by the Bureau of Land Management, people getting tasered, pushed down, hurt. And so, scores of hundreds of people started showing up there armed. Militia groups and all kinds of things. Guess what? The BLM backed down. They pulled out their little forces and gave the guys cows back. And now see, this was a flashpoint. This could have gone either way. I'm looking at it like either the whole thing was orchestrated to test to see how many people would show up, which you always have to look beyond the actual incident to see what possible motivations there could be for things. But the deal is that the government backed down, the federal government, and it could have been because the sheriffs intervened in Nevada, and the sheriffs have ultimate authority over federal law. State law takes supremacy over federal law, and so they could have just said to the guys, hey, take a hike, get out of here, you're causing trouble. I don't know. But the fact that a bunch of people showed up, they called them militia groups. Well, they were citizens that were armed and had a right to be armed and were legally armed and carried openly, not concealed. Well, gee, all of a sudden, the Bureau of Land Management kind of backed off from the situation. And, the governor of Nevada said this is uncalled for. We don't need a confrontation like this. And so it's the will of the people. And this is what I've been saying all along. And some people are like, oh, we can't have guns. Really? Well, what happens when you show up with guns and armed, and the other side, as usual, is armed to the teeth? Well, all of a sudden, they are shown for the they're the characters. Their character is shown. In other words, strap on a bunch of stuff and you think you can scare anybody. But if you get that same thing coming back at you, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it other than the fact that I'm just telling you about it. And when people get together, and it seems like people get together whenever there's any kind of ranch thing or rural thing. I've noticed that people get up in arms more against the government than they do if it's in the city, which tells you that our roots are with the land, basically. And people feel that, and then they feel like, when land's being violated, even though they live in their dinky apartments and get violated every day. The funny thing about this is it was in a place called Bunkerville, almost like Bunker Hill. uh, just too weird. But try to get information on it, and it's kind of hard to get info on what happened unless you dig into it. But I'm glad that situation got diffused. But again, that's a flashpoint that could have gone either way, and that's exactly what I talk about. Is how things could happen overnight, and most people didn't have a clue as this was even happening. And here we got a standoff with American citizens and the federal government. So that's what I mean by about being awake about what's going on around you, because that could have turned into any kind of outcome. What if there were shots fired? What if people died? What if it started a civil war? What if it could have gotten all out of proportion? It was on the very edge, believe me. And I'm not over exaggerating or exaggerating at all. I'm just telling it like it is and what I heard. I won't go into the details about why they were in there. It's just the thing is that it was just another pure example of bureaucracy, or the bureaucrats trying to run roughshod over the little guy. Not that this guy was so little, he owned a ranch, but all the ranchers around him sold out, and come to find out it had more to do with supposedly this Senator Harry Reid wanting the land to lease out to some company, corporation, for whatever purposes, maybe to make a buck. It's really hard to find information out. You have to dig for it. That's sad because the mainstream media is so messed up and liar bound. They're all liars. So you have to search for this stuff on semi-alternative news and, the original news, like Reuters, and even they tend to put a spin on it. So we have the standoff at the Bundy Ranch, or the question of guns, are they good or bad? Well, they're good in the hands of good people and bad in the bad hands of bad people. End of story, period. It's just like a bow and arrow or an axe or anything. It's a tool. Now, the other incident that I have had a hard time finding out about, or they seem to be, I call these news blackouts, is the incidents in Crimea and Ukraine and Russia and all that stuff, and the sanctions and the blah 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 that could cause World War III. Not that we're not already in World War III in a sense, we are. It's crazy. But we try to find out information about two superpowers that both have nuclear weapons going at each other through NATO and armed insurgents, and us sending in Greystone, which is actually Blackwater, and all these provocations going on, and you can't get news about that either. So I just thought I'd come on here and give you an update. And philosophically, I mean, there's a million different things we could say about this philosophically, isn't there? Like the will of the people, and people waking up and realizing that they're being screwed, and not letting things get too out of hand. I still can't figure out this Bundy thing, though, because it could have been orchestrated just to see How many people would stand up? Kind of like a test run. I feel the Boston Marathon's that way too. I was talking to a buddy today, and we were talking about how when you dig for the truth, you're considered a conspiracy theorist. But I told him I'm a conspiracy researcher, not a conspiracy theorist. Because conspiracies happen all the time around us, obviously, in the banking industry and everything else. So you have to kind of research as opposed to, you know, what's going on, really, you know, or as opposed to, what I meant to say is you have to research as opposed to the mainstream media and find out what's going on, really. Let me make that clear. Kind of misspoke there. But why should we have to? Why shouldn't we just know through whatever media we watch or whatever what's going on, you know? Now, I'm not saying that everything that's black is white, like a psychops thing. They make black seem white and white seem black, but you got to take that into consideration. That's called a false flag. I've talked about that before, and it's for a reason other than what you think it is. Take your mind off something, or a precursor to something, or another agenda that we don't know about. But let's say it is just black and white, it is what it is, this Bundy thing, then I think it's great that people finally got up off the sofa or came out of the woodworks and said, no, we're not going to take this, you know, we the people have a say. It wasn't about voting, I'll tell you, when you got two sides wandering around armed. But it just goes to show you that if one side is armed and the other isn't, well, guess what? Things don't equalize. Samuel Colt, who invented the Colt revolver, I think, he called it the great equalizer, the gun. Well, it is. I can just hear people now, though, saying, oh, we shouldn't have, well, okay, we shouldn't have guns, we shouldn't have rockets, we shouldn't have bombs. I'll tell you what, when no one else on the earth, included, you know, on the other side, or the government, when they throw all their guns away, okay, there isn't one gun that they have, or one armament, or one missile, or any kind of weapon, then they'll seriously take into consideration, you know, the fact that I don't, I, you know, the citizen doesn't need a gun either, including me. But that ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. So let's get real with it, okay? Let's get real. So that's a philosophical viewpoint, and it's a, you know, it's a hot topic, you know, because you got the gun control fanatics, and then you got the other side where it's overboard with it. So there's always that debate, but the founding fathers said, you know, the Second Amendment says we have the right to have access to firearms as long as the other side, like I just said, because governments can get out of control, and this one seems to be kind of in that pushing the envelope there. They're not pushing the envelope, they are out of control. I'm really surprised at the outcome of this situation. I thought for sure this was it. And you never know. I mean, it's never really over, is it? I mean, just because the government backed down right now, maybe they just thought, well, we'll just back down right now and assassinate the guy. We'll just make him disappear, but we'll wait a while. You know, that's how they think. So my advice to Mr. Bundy is keep a contingent of bodyguards and militia around you for protection and watch your back. That's all I got to say. Because when the government doesn't like somebody, they tend to make them disappear, and they might have just figured, well, we'll just use a different strategy. We'll just back off now, and later on position a sniper in a certain location or cause an accident to happen or whatever, and there's no more Mr. Bundy here. So anyway, it's good to keep an eye on this kind of thing once in a while, especially when you can't find news anywhere. So thought I'd keep you updated on it. The two most important things going on in the world right now, immediate threats, there's long-term threats, but immediate threats like flashpoint situations, and it's not covered. Why? News blackouts. And I'm certainly not going to be able to inform anybody except for the few that listen to me, because I don't have like thousands of people subscribed, although it would be nice if there was. Alright, so let's get off that topic. That's enough world. It's Sunday. I know everybody's barbecuing and watching the football games and the mindless games when the biggest show on earth is going on right before your very eyes. Now I'll get into like the Campfire Council, because I think that this has a direct correlation with our nonprofit Campfire Council, which is basically for the re-education, okay, of our fellow man. Knowledge is power, snapping people out of their brainwashed sleepwalking modes. And then also it's about exactly what this confrontation was about, the land, being out on the land. If you can't get out on the land and be on a ranch and not be interfered with, well, that's important, because that's one of our aims, certainly, is to get out, get in nature, get some spiritual retreats going, get some charitable action going with other nonprofits and other people, just basically helping people in general. There's a lot of people that I call disenfranchised, and also a lot of people that just basically fall through the cracks of the charity end of it, because there's less and less money available, or they're cutting certain programs so that they can use that money to stuff their pockets or put into a military defense situation, spend billions of dollars on one airplane or whatever. If you're tired of this stuff and you want to get sacred and you want to share a dream, consider checking out our website, which is posted below in the About section, campfire-council.com. And right now I'm really looking for people to help in the areas of grant writing and fundraising and maybe some PR, secretarial, the normal stuff. So we're looking for volunteers first, or people that want to get involved. And you can do that by signing up for the newsletter. I just sent one out. And emailing me about any kind of skills that you have, or ways that you would like to contribute, or whatever it is, land, whatever. Get in touch. This thing's still getting off the ground. It's going to fly here soon. So just at least check out the website. You'll like it. Campfire-Council, C-O-U-N-C-I-L. C-O-U-N-C-I-L, council, not the other kind of council. So it's campfire-council.com. And there is a place there for donations too, which we appreciate. That's what helps us keep going. That is what has gotten us to this point so far, and we've gotten quite a ways with the articles of incorporation and everything being taken care of. So we appreciate you. We love you. And by we, I'm talking about the entity, Campfire Council, because it's not just about thunder, although I'm on the board. So that's it for today. I'll end it there. Blessings to you and peace unto you. And have a good weekend or rest of the weekend, or if you see this after the weekend, we'll have a nice live. Anyway, I'm out of here. Over and out.